everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you my summer 2017 book haul. I have 17 books to show off for you guys that I've acquired over the past month and a half, which is kind of sad because I don't even know how I acquired 17 books. Don't ask me, it just happened. But I have lots of exciting books to show off for you guys. I haven't done a book haul in a while, so this is gonna be lots of fun and I just want to dive right in, so let's do this. The first set of books that I have here are ARCs that I picked up while I was at BookCon and while I was at New York City visiting the Strand. And the first one I have here I already talked about in my June wrap-up and I picked up while I was at BookCon, and that is Life is Like a Musical, How Broadway Can Help You Live Your Best Life by Tim Federle. I met Tim while I was at BookCon and I got an ARC signed of this book. It comes out in October for those of you that want to pick it up, and I talked about it in my June wrap-up, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I will have that linked down below. But this book is perfect for any theater goer. It's pretty much a whole bunch of tips and tricks and things to follow if you want to be on stage. I had the best time reading it as someone who is an actor and does high school theater and would like to continue to do acting and do theater throughout my life, whether it be part-time or just for fun. I would love to get to be able to pursue acting in any way that I can because it is so much fun to get to be on stage, get to take on a role as another character and get to just have a lot of fun with it and to be able to get to meet so many amazing people while you're on stage. I love getting to do high school theater. It's always really fun for me to have that time of year come around again because it's just such a wonderful experience. So I had the best time reading this. I'm really glad that I picked it up, and if you're a theater lover like I am, I definitely recommend that you pick this up when it comes out in October. I had the best time meeting Tim while I was at BookCon. He was the absolute sweetest and definitely made me more excited to pick this up, so I'm very glad that I did, and I hope that you guys get a chance to pick it up when it comes out in October. The next ARC I have here is one that I'm actually giving away, so if you want to see all of the rules and how to enter for that giveaway, I will leave the video where I announce it down below, and that is Monster by Michael Grant. This comes out in October for those of you that want to pick it up and don't win the giveaway. Long story short, I'm giving this away because I was in an Epic Reads giveaway and I didn't want it. I just ended up with it, and so I want to give this to someone who will enjoy it more than I will. So if you want to enter that giveaway, it will be linked down below. This is the follow-up to the Gone series, but by the time that I read the Gone series, I will have no interest in picking this up, and I don't think I ever will pick up the Gone series. So I hope that this ends up in a home with someone who really enjoys it. So if you want to enter to win Monster, link will be down below where you can find out more information about the giveaway, but I hope that this ends up with someone who will enjoy it more than I will. The next ARC I have here is one that was actually given to me while I was waiting in line for that Epic Reads ARC drop, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This comes out in January, and from what I know about the synopsis, we follow a set of sisters that were kidnapped by the Fae at a very young age, and now one of the sisters wants to be more a part of the Fae community and more respected in the Fae community, and maybe wants to be a part of the Fae leadership, but of course because she's human, she's put down upon and people don't really respect her, so it's her sort of finding respect in the community, dealing with Prince and some of the higher Faes, trying to sort of find her place in the community. And this is also dedicated to Cassandra Clare. It says, for Cassandra Clare, whom I finally managed to lure into Fairyland. So I was really excited when I got my hands on this book, so thank you so much to the person that gave this to me while I was waiting in line, because I was having a relatively long day at that point at BookCon and I was just a little bit upset with how everything was going. I wanted to have a better time at BookCon, but sadly I was a little bit let down by all the craziness and all the mobs of people that were overtaking the convention, and my anxiety was a little bit high overriding. So I was really glad that I was able to get this, and it absolutely made my day. So thank you so much if you're the person that sent this to me. I'm going to be reading this, and then I'm actually going to be sending it off to a friend who's really excited about it as well. Since this really wasn't high up on my radar, I wanted to go and give this to someone who was more excited about it, so I'm going to read it and then I'm going to send it off to a friend. So I'm really excited about that because it's always fun to get to share the wealth. So I'll be picking this up shortly, so I'm excited to let you guys know what my thoughts are. I'll definitely be reading it like August maybe, sometime soon, but I'm excited to get to pick this up because I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it, and I know that this book was actually optioned for movie rights and that it was sold, so maybe we'll be seeing The Cruel Prince made into a movie sometime soon, so that'll be exciting. And for those of you that want to pick this up, it comes out in January and I definitely recommend that you do. I haven't really read that much from Holly Black, but I'm excited to get to read more from her as an author because this just sounds really interesting and really intriguing. I'm excited to dive in. The next two ARCs I have here I got while I was at the Strand from their ARC section. The first is Mean Girls by Miklo Oslo, based on the screenplay by Tina Fey. This comes out September 12th, and I believe it's just a book adaptation of the Mean Girls movie. I watched the Mean Girls movie and I really enjoyed it, but it's not entirely for me. I'm not entirely a part of the Mean Girls culture like a lot of other people are, but I saw this and I was really excited to get to pick it up just because from what I can tell, it has a mixed media aspect to it. There's like notes and different like lists and things and text messages that are a part of the story, which sounds interesting, and I'm excited to see how they retell the movie. I know that they're making Mean Girls into a musical, so there's this whole Mean Girls culture that's coming back that I'm excited about. Hopefully I'll be reading this soon and maybe you'll be finding out more about it as to what my thoughts are, but I saw this and I had to pick it up just because, I mean, come on, it's Mean Girls. The next ARC I have here is one that I read this synopsis and was really interested, so I had to go and pick it up, and that is Halfway Normal by Barbara D. I believe this is a middle grade that comes out in September. We follow our main character Nora, who's just completed 2 years of treatment for leukemia, and now she's coming back to middle school, and some of her friends really aren't treating her normally, but it's when she's put into an honors math and science class for kids that are a year older than her that she meets another boy, Griffin, who she's able to talk to about all of her different passions and all of her interests, and is able to just find someone who treats her normally, but she hid the fact that she's had cancer, so when something happens that makes hiding that secret impossible, she has to come out and talk about this, but it's something that she doesn't even entirely understand herself, so having to go through that entire process and really be able to understand what it is that she's gone through and be able to talk about it. So this sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited to get to read it. I think that there's going to be a lot of important topics that get discussed in this book, and I haven't really read a middle grade novel that deals with something like cancer. I feel like it's going to be really inspiring, and I'm going to definitely get a lot out of it, so I'm excited to get to read this and tell you guys more about it soon. But I read the synopsis and I was immediately drawn in just because it sounded really interesting, so I hope that it lives up to my expectations. The next book I have here is another one that I already read in June, so if you want to find out more of my thoughts, my June wrap-up is down below, and that is The Great American Whatever by Tim Federle. I was at Books of Wonder and I saw this and I was like, I need to get it now because I got Life is Like a Musical, and I just wanted more Tim Federle books because this book has been on my radar, and after meeting Tim, I needed to go and pick this up. So I picked it up this summer and I read it and I loved it. If you want to know my thoughts, link is down below. As to another book that I read in June that I picked up while I was in New York, actually at the Strand, that is Kill All Happies by Rachel Cohn. I read this in June, and again, for the third time, my wrap-up is linked down below if you want to hear my thoughts on Kill All Happies. I really enjoyed this. It was really fun. I picked it up while I was in New York City because really seeing it all over BookTube and seeing the cover everywhere, like the bright yellow, I was really interested as to what the book would be about. It's just this sort of summery Coachella-like vibe that you get from the story when a graduation party that our main character throws sort of goes rogue, and it was a lot of fun to read. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I picked it up while I was in New York because I got to use it for some bookish photo shoots that I did while I was walking around the city that day, which was fun. I had a great time reading this and a great time picking it up, so I'm glad that I got my hands on this because it was a lot of fun to read. The next two books I have here are actually signed from Books of Wonder because of those of you that are unfamiliar with Books of Wonder, most of their stock is signed by various authors that attend for author events. I definitely wanted to go and pick up some signed books while I was at Books of Wonder because how could I not? So the first one that I picked up is Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. I read this, so I'll be talking more about it in my July wrap-up, but I really enjoyed it. I love the message about giving back and dealing with charity and kindness and just dealing with relationships and things. I'd never read a Jennifer E. Smith novel before, but one of my friends recommended me The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight a few years ago. I never picked it up, but I saw this cover and I saw that it was signed. I had to go and pick it up. I'm very glad that I did because I had the absolutely best time reading it, but I'm glad that I picked this up and then I read it because I had a really good time with it, and I'm excited to discuss more soon. The next book I have here is also signed from Books of Wonder, and that is The Takedown by Corey Wang. I found out about this book through the promotion that Freeform Books did with this campaign, and pretty much they sent out to a whole bunch of booktubers a cutout of their Instagram, and I was immediately drawn in and thought that that was awesome promotion, so I went and picked up the book. So it worked, which props to Freeform Books for that, but this is signed by the author, and we follow our main character who is an overall really bright, smart, straight-A student and is overall well-rounded student, but a video gets leaked of her online apparently doing it with her crush-worthy high school English teacher, and now she needs to go into the internet and take it down because that video is fake and it's not actually her. So it brings out this whole web of lies and what is it that's really going on here and why would someone post this, and just sort of understanding what it is that really happened here. This sounds really interesting. It's been on my radar for a few months, and when I saw it at Books of Wonder and I saw that it was signed, I had to go and pick it up. So I'm excited to get to read this because it sounds really interesting, and I'm really interested to get into the whole hacking culture and the web culture because I think it's gonna be really interesting to see that explored because it just seems really unique. I'm excited for this, and I'm glad that I got to pick it up at Books of Wonder. So now getting into my Barnes & Noble haul. I went to Barnes & Noble because I was in a little bit of a book slump. I needed to pick up some books to read because hopefully it would motivate me to read more, which it did. And so the first book I have here is actually my Diversity Readers Book Club pick of the month, and that is Tash Hearts Tolstoy by Katherine Ormsbee. Me and a whole bunch of other booktube ladies have started a book club where each month we pick up a diverse book, read it, and then discuss it live in a typical book club format on YouTube, and we decided to read Tash Hearts Tolstoy this month. This book follows our main character Tash, who is the creator of a web series based off of one of Tolstoy's works, and when a popular vlogger shouts out Tash and her web series in one of her videos. Tash starts to go viral and this web series starts to gain a lot more fame, then it gets nominated for an award, and now Tash has to deal with the rising fame of her web series while also dealing with her sexuality. She's asexual and she meets a guy online and they start to talk, and so she has to deal with coming out to him and coming out to her friends and understanding her sexuality a little bit more. I had the best time reading this. I will be discussing it more in my July wrap-up and in that live show. I'll leave all the details down below if you want to follow our Instagram and to check out our live show. Make sure you go and pick up the book so that you can watch along with us as we discuss the book. It's gonna be a really fun time, and I'm excited to get to discuss with all of you. So make sure you go and pick it up before the live show so that you can join us. I'm really excited about this one because I had the best time reading it, and I hope that you come and join us in our live show. The next book that I have here is one that I've been dying to pick up for forever, and the minute that I saw it at Barnes & Noble, I had to get it, and that is When Dimple Met Rashid by Sonia Manan. I'm going to be picking this up for Booktubeathon, which I'm very excited for, so I'll be reading this sometime soon. I absolutely love the cover for this, and that's really what drew me to the story initially, and now from here I'm really excited to get to read it because we have our two characters, Dimple and Rashid, and they're sort of put into this arranged marriage by their parents, but Dimple doesn't entirely approve of it, so there's sort of some struggle that goes on there as we deal with these two characters and this relationship that starts to form between them. So it sounds really interesting, and it also seems really diverse as we're having characters with an Indian background and dealing with that because I've never really read any characters like that, especially in a contemporary setting. So I'm excited for this. It's gonna be a really fun read, and you'll be hearing more as I read it during Booktubeathon. The next book I have here is one that I've needed to pick up for forever. I was at Barnes & Noble, I wasn't gonna pick it up, and then I'm like, if I don't pick it up now, I will never pick it up, and that is A Court of Wings of Ruin by Sarah J Maas. Everyone has been reading this and loving it, but for me, I've just sort of fallen out of interest with Sarah J Maas and her books. I just haven't been as motivated to read them, especially because they're so big, and I just haven't been getting into like really big, massive, long books recently. So hopefully I'll be reading this by the end of the year. That's my goal, but I had to go and pick this up. I'm really excited to finish off the trilogy, and I know there's gonna be some branch off books from there that are within the same world but follow different characters, so I'm interested to see what happens there. But as for finishing off with all these characters and seeing where the story ends up, I'm really excited about that, so I'm glad that I picked this up, and hopefully I'll be getting to it by the end of the year because I know that it's a big one, but I know that a lot of people have loved it, so hopefully I'll be reading it soon. Next up, we have Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. This is the second book in the Monsters of Verity duology, so our final book in the conclusion to this duology. I read This Savage Song earlier this year, absolutely loved it, stayed up till like 12, 1 in the morning reading it, just paging my way through, and I wanted to pick up Our Dark Duet the minute that I finished This Savage Song because it was just so good. So the minute that I saw this in the bookstore, I had to go and pick it up. Actually, that's a lie. I wanted to go and pick it up when I was at the bookstore and I was looking for it, and they didn't have it in stock, so I had to be that person that borrowed the bookstore employee to go and get it for me from stock. But I'm very glad that I did it because I have this in my hands now, and I'm planning on starting it this week because I just finished my summer reading book for school. So I'm gonna be reading this by the end of the month, and I'm really excited to dive right in and see how everything wraps up. I know that some parts of this book are written in verse, which is really interesting, so I'm excited to see how that adds into the story. But for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Monsters of Verity duology, we follow two different characters, Kate and August. Kate is a human, August is a monster, and the story follows them sort of teaming up when the borders start to sort of fall down in this city, and the monsters start to sort of take over, and you know, the sort of agreement, the pact between monsters and humans starts to fall a little bit. And this book is pretty much what I would describe as Romeo and Juliet without the romance, because this is a book that contains only friendship between our two characters, which is wonderful and so refreshing to read. And there are two main characters. The friendship that they have, the reason why it's sort of compared to Romeo and Juliet is because their parents are feuding and on sort of opposite sides on how to deal with this whole agreement with the monsters and the different things that need to happen there. If that sounds interesting to you, I would pick up this duology. It's the first that I've ever read from anything by Victoria or V.E. Schwab, anything under either of her names, but I was really excited about it nonetheless, and I'm really glad that I picked up something by her because I've been very much enjoying This Savage Song, and I'm really excited to dive into Our Dark Duet. So that's the first of my Barnes & Noble haul. So I got that all in one day, and then I was at Barnes & Noble with my friend, and I was gonna go in there and I was like, I'm not gonna buy anything. I'm gonna walk into a Barnes & Noble and I'm not gonna buy anything. I just bought 4 books at a Barnes & Noble. Don't need to go into another Barnes & Noble and buy more books. But what did I do? I bought 2 more books. The first one that I have here is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I've never read this. I don't know why I've never read it, but I've never read it, and I'm going to be fixing that during Booktubeathon. I picked this up and I'm going to be reading it during Booktubeathon. I think it's one of the first books that I'm going to be starting off with. It's relatively short, but I've heard nothing but wonderful things about it. This is just a phenomenal book, and it's one of those books that you need to read, and I'm coming late to the party. I feel bad about it, yes, but I'm going to rectify that, and I'm going to watch the movie, and it's going to be a wonderful time. But I saw this at Barnes & Noble. I couldn't not pick it up because it just was staring me in the face because I've been meaning to pick this up forever, and I did it, and I'm very glad that I did because I'm gonna be reading this soon and I'm pumped about it. The next book I have here is another one that I bought while I was at Barnes & Noble. I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any books, and then I walk out of there and I buy 2 books. But this was 30% off, so I don't feel as bad because it was 20% off and then another 10% off because I'm a Barnes & Noble member, because how could I not be? And that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I was gonna pick this up while I was at BookCon and get it signed by Laini Taylor, and then that signing was just an absolute hot mess, and so I never got to pick it up, and now here I am a month and a half later and I have it in my hands. Because I'm excited about it. I read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy earlier this year and I really enjoyed it, and so when this came out I know a lot of people were really excited about it and read it and enjoyed it, so I'm excited to get to pick it up for myself. I really don't know that much of what it's about, but with Laini Taylor no books, I feel like when you read the synopsis, it's just one of those books that it doesn't click, and you have to just read the book and figure out what it's about as you're reading to understand it. So I'm gonna go into this book really not knowing much other than what I've heard from other booktubers and people that have talked about it. I'm excited to pick this up nonetheless. It sounds really interesting. I feel like it's gonna have that very whimsical and very sort of dark and very just sort of magical vibe that Laini Taylor books have, where you just get sucked into them in the writing style because it's just so beautiful and so haunting in a way. So I'm excited for that and excited to get to read another Laini Taylor book because I've had the best time reading her books this year, so I'm excited to get to pick up this one. And so finally, to cap off this massive book haul, we have the 2 Owl Crate books of the month from the June Owl Crate box, because Owl Crate, being the wonderful book subscription service that they are, included 2 books in their June box. The first being New World Rising by Jennifer Wilson, and the other being The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson. So I love how Owl Crate just had this nice green vibe going on with their June box, where everything was like this greenish, whitish color, and everything looked so nice together, and I've never seen a book box do that before and just color coordinate so nicely compared to the way that Owl Crate did. So I was really impressed by that. Both of these books, I really don't know that much about them, so I'm excited to get to read them and find out more, but I know that both of them are dystopian and sort of deal with sanctuary and sort of deal with like finding a place where you're safe and protected. They're both green. I know that this book was optioned for a movie and that Leonardo DiCaprio was somehow behind that, which I think is really cool. I know that this book was published by Of Tomes Publishing, which was created by Benjamin Of Tomes, who is a booktuber. So I know a lot of useless facts about these books, but nothing about the actual description as to what the story entails. But I'm excited for them nonetheless, because I haven't really read a lot of dystopian books in a while that are like hardcore dystopian, you know, that give you like those vibes of like the Hunger Games and Divergent, like those dystopian days. I'm excited for that because I feel like I haven't had that like nostalgic vibe in a while. So I'm excited to dive into these. So thank you so much, Owl Crate, for including these in your June box and for including the exclusive cover of The Sandcastle Empire, because this is gorgeous and I'm excited to display it on my shelf along with New World Rising and get to pick both of these up very, 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 very soon. So that's about it for my June wrap up. Normally at the end of these videos, I would go and try to pick up all of the books and hold them in frame, and I'm too tired to do that because I've just hauled 17 books. Wow. Let me show you the mess that they made on my bed actually, instead of holding them, because you should there's books everywhere.
Look at that. Look at all the books. Look at all of that. They're everywhere. It's a mess. It's everywhere. That is what I've done to myself.
And now that the angle for this is completely and entirely different because I moved the camera, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to comment down below what your favorite book that you picked up this summer was, let me know. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye!